Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mike Morales. You are watching Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media. I'm here in San Antonio. That young man is.
Rick Levy in San Diego.
And Rick and I have been taking a walk through the highlands with Felipe Camarena and Terralta. Oh, look at that. That's just... Now, look how light this is, Rick.
Yeah.
That's first. This is a Reposado. We've done the Blanco version and the 110 Blanco. As you can see, we are still getting shampoo bubbles.
So this is a 3-month Reposado.
Now, what specifically, you spoke to him, what barrels is he using for this? Because this is really...
I didn't speak to him specifically about this.
Okay.
Some information I found on the internet led me to think that he was using new barrels that he got. They're used barrels, but they're the first time that he's used them for tequila. And that he did just a very light toast on them. And he's only resting the Reposado for 3 months.
Now, the information, we wanted to get we actually wanted to get a ruling from the referee. So I got hold of his importer, and if I could just find his there we go. I asked him, because we had the website has very minimal information on it. Yeah. The point of sale material is simply a laminated version of what's on the website, which again is limited. So I asked him, I said, what type of barrel, how long are they being rested? And he said, the Añejo is 1 year. The Extra Añejo is 4 years. And I said, so what kind of barrels? And he said, very used and worn out oak barrels. And he said that the reason for this is because the emphasis is all about the agave and the deep earth water, not the oak. And that's pretty much that's pretty much Felipe's MO.
That's his MO, yeah. Yeah, he always wants the agave to be in the front, and that's where he wants the focus to be.
So this is if we're calling this right, it's an ancient barrel, first time used for tequila, right? And how many months?
Yeah,
is this?
Well, I guess our information is not complete there, because if it's a first time use for tequila and it's a bourbon barrel can only be used once. So there's like a disconnect there in our information. So, and when I spoke with Felipe, when I met him at a reception at Cantina Mayahuel, I asked him about his barrels because I think we were getting ready to review Pasote at the time. And we had the information about how Pasote was using barrels that averaged 40 years old.
Right.
And
that was information that we had from Tasting Panel magazine, where they were actually featured twice last year, and I remember pulling that information out because we had no information otherwise,
So when I was talking to Felipe, he was saying that he has barrels of all ages, and that he kind of cycles through them, uses a mixture of barrels of different ages, and they're all typically used, like Jim Beam or Jack Daniel's barrels.
Would you say that he is very I mean, I'm sure his barrel management is good enough to know, that he wants something completely old and used. And, 20, 30, the article that I read earlier was that it was like a 40-year-old barrels. Am I correct in assuming that he really doesn't care a whole hell of a lot he's just resting this stuff. He's just resting this stuff just enough so he can call it what it is.
To satisfy the categories, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Because an Añejo at 1 year, that's the cutoff. You can't get any younger than that for an Añejo. So
yeah. So, really surprising that, where for other rested tequila, the barrel management is really important. And I get the feeling that for Felipe, it's the least important of all of the variables.
You have someone like Enrique Fonseca that is just a madman when it comes to barrel management.
Sure.
He's rotating barrels between different warehouses that he has in order to have them resting at different elevations and in different humidity levels and different types of barrels, different ages of barrels, and for just sometimes for incredibly long lengths of time. And then you ask Felipe about his barrels, and he's like,
yeah, it's like an afterthought.
Yeah. He's really into producing an amazing Blanco into the process, and the growing the agaves and choosing them at the right time, and baking them the right way, and macerating them the right way, and fermenting them the right way, and the distilling. And so that's the end. He's got a couple of engineering degrees. He's always thinking about the science of it. And when you get to the barreling, it's just that's more of an, I wouldn't discount what Enrique Fonseca's doing, because that's probably some mad science he's got going on there. But really, it's a layering of the flavors. It's not a perfecting of the original juice, which is where Felipe's passion is, I think.
Yeah, it really, again, indicative, like we said with the Blancos, or both Blancos, are very indicative of the microclimate of that region and what is possible.
Such a beautiful representation of the agave in that area.
Well, look, I'm using the prototype of the Jarrito that we got from Chisholm Trail, and look how light the color is on this thing. And you said it was about, what, 3 months, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just old enough, because you can put
for that minute that clock to strike 12 and go, okay, pull it.
You can put a Blanco in oak for 59 days and still call it a Blanco. And so, Enrique's pulling it out a couple days later for his Reposado.
I know. Yeah. So this is the Repo, and just a hint of the wood, just a hint. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. You know what it smells like, Rick? Now that I've got it in here,
are you getting some of the cinnamon?
Yeah, but it smells like a mezcal. I'm getting almost agave notes that I don't normally get in tequila. I get them in mezcals.
Wow.
It just occurred to me.
Again, it's just very agave forward, and just a wonderful, full agave nose.
Wow. Some tequilas come up and talk to you, but this one just sings. This one comes up and it just sings an aria, a cappella. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And right on the top layer, that first sniff, just a hint of the caramel and the wood, just enough. Otherwise, it's a Blanco. It's whatever we had in the Blanco. Yeah, I'm getting notes that I normally get in the mezcal. That's weird.
Felipe's bringing the three-dimensional nose to the Blue Weber.
To tequila, yeah. Just a hint, just a touch.
Yeah, just a touch, a light layer of the barrel notes.
Yeah, nothing. If you're expecting a lot stronger reposado, remember Rick, you and I were talking about how some brands were making statements with their reposado. I with Felipe, he's just making a statement with his agave.
The statement with his reposado is, "I like blancos."
Yeah, he's definitely leaning toward that side.
Yeah, but it is nice. It I think the barrels are rounding out the edges slightly.
Yes.
Rounding out a little bit of the pepper, and a little bit of vanilla, and just a touch of caramel on the palate.
It is sweetening the nose, and it is very reminiscent of some mezcals that Rick and I have had, and I've had this year on Sipping Off the Cuff. Which, like I said, is a very odd thing for me to detect in a tequila. This is probably the closest, other than one tequila that we had last year, Alicantes. This is probably the closest I've come to where a tequila and a mezcal were almost equals. You know what I mean? That's gorgeous.
And I think we're back to the longer finish that we found on the 80 proof Blanco. This Reposado is 80 proof.
Yes.
The 110, we found it had some fuller characteristics on the palate, but in the finish it might have been a little bit shorter.
Wow. That is gorgeous. And look at the way it clings to the glass. I don't know if you can see that. My lighting's not the greatest here, but
you can see some of my pearls there.
Yeah, lovely legs and tears. Just to be, again, Creo Spirits, the importer, wanted us to make sure that we let y'all know that this tequila is really for the tequila aficionado, literally for somebody who's maybe a little bit more experienced, or someone who wants to experience more of what they're not getting. They want to see what all the hype is about, right? Well, the hype is there because it's real. It's as Felipe says on the website, I'm not about pretty bottles. I'm all about making tequila. I'm in the tequila making.
And he absolutely refuses to do any touching up, any rectification or anything at the end.
Yeah.
It's just, he's a purist. He demands of himself to get it right the first time. A purist.
Wow. Could you put this in a cocktail? Yes, you could. Should you? No. I'm really telling you, for those of you who are really enjoying the mezcal boom right now, try this reposado. These jarritos are prototypes, but hopefully they'll be out on the market, if not by the end of the year, beginning of next year. And you get yourself one of these and try this with a mezcal, and then try it with Terralta. And I'm telling you, you will get notes from Terralta that I have only had in mezcal. And that's saying something, because the beauty of mezcal is that each of the plants, the characteristics are shining through. And I'm kind of dumbfounded, because this is not what I'm used to in a tequila, to have characteristics that remind me of mezcal. Yeah. This is some old school stuff, man.
It's big on both the nose and the palate, and this is something you just want to pour and relax with and enjoy it neat.
I don't know.
Felipe didn't put anything extra in this, so you shouldn't either.
Yeah, exactly. I think a Brand of Promise nominee in that Reposado Legacy category. You
Absolutely.
cannot. Rick, what's the going rate for this for the Repo?
For the Repo, Old Town has it for $47 right now.
Wow. That it deserves that price point. It really does. The finish is way longer than the 110. Something he never ceases to surprise me. You know, when we did Pasote, there was all kinds of surprises and leaning toward one direction or the other, and you know, the ancient barrels that he's using. But this, again, I'm very surprised. You know, and in a good way. You know, that there are characteristics that you're just not going to find with other tequilas. Well done, Felipe Camarena. Thanks again to Creo Spirits for putting this together for us. Go find it. Go get yourself a couple of bottles. It really is worth every penny. Whatever they're asking for, it just take.
And something Felipe would have you do as well is he would have you compare expression to expression with his G4 line. So for G4 and Terralta, those are both his lines. And for the G4, he's using a 50-50 mix of his rainwater capture and his spring-fed well. And then for Terralta, he's using 100% of his spring-fed well. And so that was something he always wanted to do, is to have two lines that really will contrast the difference that even just the water can bring.
Well, I think he's really playing. He's playing to all of the facets or sections of that flavor wheel. You know, when it comes to his tequilas, he really has, two lines, complete lines that are pretty much touching a lot of that flavor wheel. More power to him, man. That guy's just crazy mad genius.
He's doing great stuff.
This is, again, a Brand Promise nominee in the Reposado Legacy category. Look out for this. We are about to touch base on the Añejo, and we'll go through some more of the barrel, the science behind this barrel. You know, there's a little. We're not too sure about what barrels he's using and how long he's using them and whatever, but we're going to play with that. Stick with us, whatever you're doing. Subscribe to us, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on Blog Talk Radio and iTunes. I'm Mike Morales here in San Antonio. That young man out there is
Rick Levy in San Diego.
He's our interpreter for anything Camarena.
Oh, Felipe's a favorite of mine. I'm a bit of a fanboy.
I'm going to have to meet him one day. I've met Carlos. I've never met Felipe. But anyway, hey, whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.